Hello, I hope you're having a good day. I would like to just share a really quick tip that I found here for making a nice camera orbit. So I've got my scene here, it's a character, I just want to orbit around it real nice. And I've already got my camera in a nice position. And this is a trick that'll work for lots of things, so I'm just going to hit Shift A and I'm going to add in an empty. It doesn't really matter which one you'll use, but I'm going to use a cube. And then I'm going to select my camera and I'm going to shift click on the cube and then press Control P and set parent to object, keep transform. And now I'm on my first frame already, so make sure you're on your first frame. I'm going to click on auto keying and then I'm going to just press R and click so that it stays there. And now I have 144 frames, so what is that divided by 2? It is 72. So I'm going to go over to frame 72 and I'm going to hit R and then Z, so we're rotating along the global Z axis, and hit 180. And then I'm just going to go to my last frame and I'm going to hit R and Z and 180 again. And if I didn't mention before, make sure that auto keying is on here, otherwise you'll want to press I and hit insert keyframe each time you rotate. And now if we do that, we'll see that it's going along just fine. And one extra thing here is, let's go to our animation tab and we'll press Control Tab while we're looking over the dope sheet, and that's going to turn it into the graph editor. And usually, okay, it looks like I had linear interpolation on. Sometimes you want to use different curves for different things. So usually if you press T, you can set the keyframe interpolation. And I like to use linear for camera rotations or things that should be in motion when the frame starts a lot of times. Maybe I'm doing like an animation where like there's a spaceship flying or something. You don't want it to gradually pick up speed, and I'm sure if you've ever animated a spaceship, you've encountered this. So just go ahead and set it to linear interpolation. We'll get this nice, straight progression where it just goes every frame. Now the next thing that I want to show you here is, let's double click on our Z Euler rotation. And this isn't actually really applicable to what I'm doing today. This is just kind of a nice bonus for you guys. So we're going to double click on our Z Euler rotation, and we're going to go to modifiers, and then we're going to add in a cycles modifier, and then we're going to tell it to repeat the motion with offset before and repeat the motion with offset after. And so what you'll see is now before our animation, and if we click normalize so we can actually see things, and after our animation it just keeps going. So the cool thing about this is if I decided to double my frame range or whatever, I don't have to worry about redoing my keyframes or anything. But the other cool thing about it is, and again, not really applicable to what I'm doing today because I'm showing off this model, I don't want motion blur on it. But if you do want motion blur on something that you're doing in orbit around, then one, of course, you'd want a quick motion blur over there. But two, you would notice that since the camera stops moving at the first and last frames, it kind of like turns off, so you can see the seam really easily there. But with this, there's no seam. It starts out with motion blur and it ends with motion blur because the camera's never really stopping. And of course, you've probably seen me do this in other videos, or at least the last video that I uploaded. It's always nice, it's nice sometimes to go into your camera, add a rotation frame, and then you can go to Y Euler rotation and add in a quick noise. And I'll just set it to 50 on the strength and probably 50 on the scale and 0.1 on the strength. And that'll just give us a slight kind of, handheld look. Oftentimes I'll do like 30. I feel like 30 is usually a good place. I don't want it too overpowering in this case because, you know, I'm just showing a model that I made. And the other thing that I don't think I showed in the last one is restrict frame range. And so I use this a lot. So we'll set the start frame to say 5 and we'll set the end frame to 144, and then we'll tell it that it will fade out its influence for, I don't know, we'll give it 10 frames, and we'll tell it to fade in for 10 frames. And this just makes it so that our camera like really loops smoothly with the noise modifier on it. That doesn't look quite pretty there, so I'm going to change the fade in time to 24. There we go. Alright, and that's all that I am showing you today. I hope that that was insightful and helpful, and that you have a lovely day. Please consider liking the video and subscribing for more tutorials. Have a good one. Bye.